好高興我哋今日咧就有兩位非常資深嘅社會企業家嚟同我哋分享。咁我右手邊第一個就係鍾偉成先生，咁就鍾偉成先生，我諗可能大家都會熟悉嘅啦。即係佢嗰個社企喺香港咧，即係可以講係話規模最大嘅一間，非常成功，歷史亦都係悠久，即係完全係經得起考驗嘅。咁或者我都簡單介紹一下鍾生。鍾生而家咧係明圖聯繫有限公司嘅董事總經理。就係香港社會企業總會義務秘書，同埋社會創建慈善會創會會員，同埋佢亦都有幫一啲學校做校董㗎。名圖即係最有名嘅咧就係卓思朗啦。我諗即係大家如果你去啲醫院尤其是即係政府嘅醫院咧，都會有見到有卓思朗嗰個綜合商店嘅。咁除咗卓思朗之外咧，就名圖咧亦都好積極咁發展其他業務嘅，包括清潔啦、零售啦、餐飲啦，同埋即係直銷嘅業務。咁名圖而家咧就營業總額咧係達到7800萬港紙，咁亦都僱用咗係140位嘅員工，其中咧就有70%啦係殘疾人士嚟嘅。我哋一陣間咧就會聽到鍾生咧，佢就分享幾個個案，6個個案，就喺佢哋嘅即係結構管理模式。即係同埋即係佢哋嗰個公司管治，即係喺嗰方面做少少分析同埋分享嘅。I don't know whether you have this booklet. If you turn to page 73, there is a very good description, introduction of our speaker, Mr. Zhong Huixing. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm not going to repeat it in English. 另外一位講者咧就係關志康先生 ，Mr. Ted 關嚇。關生咧就係豐盛社企學會榮譽總經理。如果大家有呢本嘅咧，就睇一睇79啦。79頁就係關生嘅簡介。關生即係除咗係豐盛社會企業嘅主席同埋榮譽總經理之後咧，同時亦都係香港信託會財務小組嘅成員。佢有5年以上即係直接參與社企營運嘅經驗。就亦都係喺大學啦。就有教授，即係關於係社企相關嘅知識同埋技巧嘅。其實除咗係即係我作為主席同埋榮譽總經理啦，我知道關生其實自己係做咗佢哋下邊一啲社企嘅 CEO 嘅。所以係喺營運方面，佢有非常豐富嘅直接嘅經驗。關生主要咧就會分享豐盛集團，即係佢哋嗰個管治嗰個模式。我諗我唔再嘥大家時間啦，我直接咧就係請阿鍾生就開始佢嗰個分享。喺分享之前，我講多一句，我哋本來有另外一位講者嘅，就係郁德芬博士，Dr. Alice 郁。但係咧就可能天氣 嘅關係，咁佢就有重嘅感冒，所以變咗咧，我哋都請佢就今日唔好嚟啦嚇，係咪？咁不過咧就鐘生即係都會代郁博士咧，就係、介紹咗郁博士準備嘅一篇分享嘅嚇。咁我而家請阿鐘生。
Thanks, Marina introduction. I would like to know how many people here don't know Cantonese. How about English? English is okay. Okay. I think I will use English better than use Cantonese. I found that this guy very happy. Anyway, my PowerPoint is English, so if my English is not good enough, you don't know what I say, then you can see the PowerPoint. Okay. On behalf of General Chamber of Social Enterprises, I would like to give thanks to all of you join this session. Okay. When we study about what is the governance of social enterprises, we must know the definition of social enterprises. From Home Affairs departments, the definition is a business to achieve specific social objectives, such as providing the services, such as supporting services for the elderly or products needed by the community, creating employment and training opportunities for the socially disadvantaged, protecting the environment, funding other social services through the profits earned. Its profits will be principally reinvested in the business for the social objectives that it pursues, rather than distribution to its shareholders. How about the size of the sector in Hong Kong? It depends on how it's defined. From the data of HKCSS, SEBC, the Social Enterprise Business Center, Social Enterprise Directory 2013, there are 406 social enterprises in Hong Kong in 2012. A total of 341 SE projects, about 84% were operated by 105 charitable organizations registered under Section 88. That is the tax exemption status of that kind of charitable organization. Only 45 SE projects established in other forms. In Hong Kong now, because there are no definition or the registration policy on social enterprises, many different legal forms with varying degrees of safeguards for social mission. In Hong Kong, now the forms of social enterprises mainly divided into five kinds, or maybe more, but in Hong Kong, usually these five categories. One is the incorporated limited company or organization, which is limited by shares. The second one is charitable incorporated company organization. It's always an NGO. They're providing social services for their clientele. The third one is cooperative. Fourth, maybe a unit project under an incorporated limited company organization. The fifth one is a unit project under charitable incorporated company organization. It's only a unit or project, not a corporate. Why we need to? Why the SE in Hong Kong need to have a good governance? It is similar to the corporates in other forms of business. As a growing movement, in Hong Kong social enterprise movement about not more than 10 years, only 7 to 8 years. As a growing movement, good governance is essential if the movement is to strive and be sustainable. It provides legitimacy It provides legitimacy, accountability, and transparency for all stakeholders as well as consumer being served. First of all, I want to say it is not a very scientific and thorough study on SE governance. It is a preliminary study. We use the method, it's a case study approach. We have telephone interview and face-to-face interview to interview 6 SE with various forms of governance structure. The focus of interviews are the legal form and governance structure of SEs, the formation and composition of board and its members, distribution of rights and responsibilities among different participants, rules and procedures for making decisions in, I think it is the type of mistake, is corporate affairs, governance mechanism for monitoring the action and policies, performance indicators, example is the achievement of social objectives, the increase of turnover and gross profit, the possibility of business expansion and product expansion. The second is profit distribution, how the profit is distributed to the shareholders or given back to the organization or the mother organization. The eighth is overall performance and overall performance is a self-reporting statement from the interviewed organization. The 9 also the self-reported statement, the governance challenges. Okay, now the illustration of the cases we interviewed. The first case, case A. Its legal form is limited by shares with 20 shareholders, founded in 9009. Its social objectives is to empower and employ physical challenged people. Its startup fund, it is collective investment that means the fund collected from 19 shareholders. Why 19 shareholders? Because one of the shareholders needed to invest money because he becomes the CEO of that company, and the shares only issued by the shareholders. And the board size is 7 members, including 2 founders and 1 CEO. They meet quarterly, the board meeting meet quarterly. The management is the CEO. He has the bureau as employee and shareholder, but no voting right. I just say the CEO only have shares, but he needed to pay for that shares. And the government mechanism, they have board meeting, progress report. Quarterly, the CEO need to report to the board. Annual report, they are by monthly annual report. The first one just issued last year. They have budget plan, AGM, impact assessment, and audit report. The performance indicators are turnover and profit growth, a number of disabled employees and media coverage, and product differentiation. Their profit distribution method is 1/3 to the foundation as donation. They create another, the limited by shares, they create another charitable foundation to have some charity activities for the physical disadvantaged people. And 1/3 will be reinvestment, 1/3 to shareholders. And they said, the CEO said the company overall performance is, they have annual turnover about 14 billion, that is 2011 and 2012. I think last year they may have a better financial performance of his company. Now they are profitable. Now they can have money sharing to the shareholder now. Sustainable business that can scale up. Case B. Case B, legal form is limited by shares, but It is a subsidiary of the Angel Section 88, founded in 2002. That is a very very old social enterprise in Hong Kong. you know the development of social enterprise in Hong Kong just about 6 to 7 years, but 2002 is already founded. Its social objectives is create employment opportunities for people with mental disabilities, start-up fund, seed money from government, and interest-free loan from mother organization. The board is composed of 7 members, including 1 managing director, and the director from the mother organization also in attendance of the board meeting. The board meeting will held 4 to 6 times per year. The management is the managing director, both employee and shareholder, but no voting right and cannot share the profit. This is different from the case A, the CEO. Even he do not have the voting right, but he can share the profit. But in this case, the managing director cannot share the profit. Governance mechanism, like case A, have board meeting, progress report, AGM, audit report, annual report, and budget plan. Performance indicators mainly is the number of this disabled employee, and the turnover, gross profit growth, business differentiation. The profit distribution, shareholders of this company cannot share the profit. They mean the members of the board, even they are shareholders, all of them cannot share the profit. The profit will be reallocated for reserve, reinvest, and bonus for staff with those bonus package. Overall performance, last year they have 79 million Hong Kong dollars. So you know that is my company. Profitable, sustainable, and business scale. KC, legal form. It is a cooperative registered in agriculture, fisheries and conservation department with 19 members. They need to register in a department named Yu Chu. And it is very strange that it needs to register in a agriculture fishery, which is the out-of-date business industry in Hong Kong. But now even they do some business. It's a very current business. Still need to register in the old industry department. It's founded in 2008. Its social objective is united voluntarily to meet the common economic, social needs and aspiration of the women through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. Startup fund, collective invested by the registered members. They have 19 registered members. They have executive committee. They do not have a board, not in the terms of board, but named executive committee with 5 members, including the director. They have chairman, secretary, and treasurer, something like that. They have monthly committee meeting. The management is the director, have dual role as employee and shareholders with voting rights. Governance mechanism, they have board meeting, committee meeting, report to AFCD, that is the department they registered, AGM and audit, independent audit report. Performance indicators is number of members registered. But last few years, the number of the registered members not grow. Profit distribution, 25% to reserve fund. That is the regulation of the cooperative registration. And 75% can share among the registered members. Overall performance, less than 1 billion turnover last year. They break even, but facing sustainability problems, difficult to scale up. Case D, legal form is limited by shares with sole founder. Sole founder means about 10 years ago, the limited by shares need to have 2 directors, 2 shareholders, but but nowadays, one shareholder can host a limited by shares company. It's founded 2009. Its social objective: promote global education opportunity for youth. Startup fund, personal investment, that means the shareholder contribute his money to build up this company, and also the prizes from SE competition, SE in social enterprise competition and loan raising. He himself already the board, the only board member of the board. Only have several informal advisory groups with mentors and professionals. They are voluntary. Management founded himself and 1 to 2 key staff. Governance mechanism, they also have audit report, but only for company registration purpose. Performance indicator: number of youth participating in the program, profit distribution, loan return because they have loan raising. Some of these have a very low interest rate. Reserve and return to the funder. Overall performance less than 1 million, 2012 to 2013. Break even but facing sustainability problem, difficult to scale up. Case E. Legal firm. It is limited by shares and wholly owned by the angel with Section 88. It is a bit different from case B because they do not have the independent board. Its social objective is create training and employment opportunity for disadvantaged people. The money also from seed money from the government and the deployment of NGO resources like manpowers or some money resources. No independent board and having a social enterprise planning committee. They also have a planning committee to monitor the progress of the social enterprise. Committee meeting about quarterly. Management, CEO and general manager of the NGO without shares. Governance mechanism, they have the advisory committee meeting, report of SEPC, report to SEPC and the NGO board. No separate annual report because the annual report will merge with his mother agency annual report. Performance index, turnover and number of employment for disadvantaged group. Profit distribution, reserve and reinvestment. Overall performance 8 million, 2012 to 2013, break even but sustainable, but difficult to scale up. Case F. It is a typical type of SE project in Hong Kong. It is under the angel Section 88, but they are not use a corporate approach. They only under the service unit of the NGO. This case founded in 2008. Its social objectives is create training and employment opportunities for the disadvantaged, promote the awareness of environmental protection, build up social capital families in disadvantage. Startup from fund also seek money from government, donation and resources deployment from the NGO. No board, no committee, without any advisory body. Management is the deployment manpower from the service unit. Governance mechanisms only supervised by the unit in charge, report to senior management of the NGO. Performance indicator, sales, number of jobs created, participant in this SE program, social network build-up. Profit distribution, reinvestment. Overall performance of this SE have small deficits, but no cash flow problem. You know, the mother organization is a very big organization. If they need money, mother organization will grant them, or I think they didn't have loan, grant to them. No scale-up possibility with current situation. Okay, so some findings of the study. The first is the governance structure. We found that case A and case B, it is formed formed in incorporated limited and charitable incorporated company with independent board. They have a strong governance structure. A moderate type is the cooperative and the charitable incorporated company, but without independent board. That means if the SE, the social enterprise, they have the independent board, seems to be more, will be stronger than the SE without independent board. The weak one are the incorporated limited run by young entrepreneurs and the SE under charitable incorporated. Few SE, few social enterprises have shareholders note. So shareholders notes mean they have the M&A, but maybe the M&A didn't mention about the contribution, distribution of shares, and some guidance regulation. They can use a shareholder notes to govern, to safeguard their social mission and also the distribution of profit. But this is very important for the governance structure. They need to have the regulation on how the profit go and how to maintain the social mission and will not become the sole business. The second is board formation and composition. We find that the board size usually 5 to 7 members. 3 out of 6 SE have board or committee. 1 have advisory committee. 2 out of 6 SE without formal board or advisory committee. So these kind of SEs tend to very weak. Simple board make members feel stronger sense of personal responsibility. Small boards are perceived to be more effective. Independent board is more effective than the advisory committee because you know the advisory committee or the composition of the members mainly from the volunteers. Maybe they are experts, maybe they are the people in the outside company, but they didn't have time to have the more contribution in the operation of the SE. Committee for expert and professional to provide connection and support to the management. About the management, if the CEO or director, if the shareholders assume that they have stronger commitment and higher sense of ownership. The ownership in the SE is very important also. About his passion, about where the money, where the heart. So if the CEO or director, if the shareholder, we find that they will have a stronger commitment in SE development. Some people say social worker cannot be a good entrepreneur or a good manager in the social enterprise, but we find that 4 out of 6 SE are managed by social workers. In case A and case B, you find that the overall performance of that SE are very, very excellent or outstanding. The CEO and managing director also a social worker. The higher of the autonomy of the management will lead to higher performance in financial and social return. The fourth is the governance mechanism. All 6 SE have audit report on this SE project. Only 2 SE have separate annual report to show their business direction, development, and financial and social return. High performance SE usually develop the effective governance mechanism like reporting system, involvement of stakeholders, and strategic planning. Concluding that the governance challenges in social enterprises. The first one is choosing appropriate legal and governance structure. The SE always have struggle on which kind of which form of SE is better to get funding, to get investment. So sometimes they choose between whether they register as a corporate with Section 88 or just a limited price shares. The second one is there are difficulties to recruiting board members with the right skill, experience, and time. you know that if the SE actually is a business. If they operate a cafe or they operate a retail shop, will they choose a competitor in their advisory board or the board? Because they will have the conflict of interest. So it is very difficult to recruit a board member. Balanced social and financial goal, lack of clarified overboard and staff role, because you know the term called founder syndrome. Founder syndromes mean the founders of the SE may be too involved in the operation of the social enterprise, or maybe too dominated, or if they also have a very high control of the board that make other people cannot join the board. That is the very serious problem. The management or members of the cooperatives are lacking of commercial skill and business mind. So you find that the cooperatives in Hong Kong it's very difficult to scale up because they didn't have any support in the operation of the business, like marketing skill and financial calculation. Young entrepreneurs did not get consistent and continuous support from mentors or advisors. You know, nowadays many people educate the youngster to contribute himself to run a social enterprise, but they didn't get enough support. So about maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they will leave the SE sector. Another issue is the succession plan for the step down of the founder or senior management. You know, many founders of the SE, they have passion to run the SE, but if they step down, then they are very difficult to find another people have strong passion or skill to run SE. The problem in both the SE in NGO or limited company. So some good practice in SE governance. Actually, it is similar to the corporates in the business sector. We must building up a holistic and responsible board to support and oversight the SE. Like strategic guideline and risk management help to develop innovative and effective business model by the members' connection and resources. It is very important, even we do not have such experts in the board or the committee, but if they can connect the management to these resources, to the people, they can have money, resources, investment, also help the development of social enterprise. Ensuring cash flow to increase the sustainability of business safeguard the social mission. Defining performance indicators for social mission and the financial return. Ensure the management complies with its governing document and all legal requirements. Approval of management decision and accountable to the stakeholder. The stakeholder, not only the board member, not only the management, but also the employee or other investor by reports, meetings, regulation, audit, and certification. Thank you. The picture is members of the General Chambers of Social Enterprises. Ms. Alice Yeo is on the right-hand side, the number 4, a very beautiful lady with big number 4, yeah. And behind him is Tender Singh, okay? Others is a member of GCSE. Thank you all.
So now we have Mr. Guan from Ngos.
before I start, let me explain a bit about Fullness. Fullness has three legal entities. Okay, there's a garage run and operate and owned by a charitable organization. This is a typical Section 88 entity. Okay, there is a Fullness Academic Society, which is also a Section 88 charitable organization. But now I'm going to share is the Fullness Hair Salon. Fullness Hair Salon is operated as a limited by share company, which has a major shareholder that is owned by the parent NGO. So what I'm going to talk about is the Fullness Hair Salon. With this kind of structure, I think the limited by share company is mainly owned by the NGO, but with outside shareholders. Okay, so I'm going to share how we do our corporate governance in the Fullness Hair Salon. Okay, what we think about a good board consists of at least three things. One is a transparent board. Another is a learning board, which means the board members are there to learn something new. The final thing is a self-evaluating board, which means the board members there must be contribute themselves and also to do a self-evaluation on about themselves. Okay, so let me start with this. This is a McKinsey report on about how the board members feel when they serve in an NGO. Although there's a lot of wordings, don't worry about the wordings. So I will just highlight a few findings from this report. It's in this page. Okay. In fact, for many of the board members, they have, of course, when they serve in an NGO board, they must have good intention. But ultimately, what they think is they only 70% think their board are effective, and only less than half of the board member can actually assess the raw data of the operation, whether it's an SE or whether it's a service unit under the NGO. And individually, only less than half of the director can only tell his own organization mission. This is quite alarming, right? You serve in an NGO, but you don't know the mission of your NGO. Okay. Anyway, but another interesting finding is that less than half of the board member can actually participate in the strategy of the NGO, which means they are only here for meeting, but not participating in the activities of the NGO. So what's the result? Only 40% feel they are, or only 40% they will become very active in the board. Although they may have presence in the board, but they are not active in the board. So you know the difference, right? If you have ever been into any kind of committees or board, you should know what this means, right? You will be here, but you are not actively participating. Okay. So the first point I want to point out is in Fullness Hair Salon, because it is a limited by share company, and because all the board members, when we bring in the board members, they are all come from different sectors with their expertise in different areas. So what I would like to say is everyone is a professional and have great self-ego. So how do you make all these able people to work together and be humble and to serve the organization? So we define our board as a learning board. So every year we try to create a theme or a single concept or a focus for the hair salon, so that every board member here can focus their energy and bring in their network and resources and in contributing along the same direction. So here is just an example. So for example, in 2009, we are promoting ethical consumption. I don't care where the board member come from, but every board member should try to think and bring in resources to help Fullness to promote ethical consumption. So because we have a central theme each year or every 2 years, people can work among the same goal. And because here is something new for every directors, so they have something to learn as well. So as you are you need to learn something new, then you will be less bossy and you will be more humble. I think this is just human beings, right? So that's why we try very hard to build in a theme all the way over the last 5 to 6 years in Fullness Hair Salon. So now it's 2013. We are trying to build a harmonious culture in the society. So we are yet thinking about our main theme in 2014. Okay, so our next board meeting is in December. So and then we will talk about what we are going to do in 2014. So we want a learning board, humble to learn. Okay, and we want a self-evaluating board. So each year or every 2 years, we ask the board member two types of questions. What are the things that you think it is important to the organization? For example, do you think we should have a very clear mission about our organization? If you think it's important, then you give 1. If you think it's not important, you give a 0. So you see the red circle, okay, the red circle. This is the board member, how they feel about the importance of each task that we should do. Okay, first clarifying the mission, or do you think developing a CEO is an important issue? So you give a mark here. Do you think provide expertise is important? Do you think develop financial resources is important? So it is importance. But at the same time, we will ask the same set of questions and ask the director to evaluate whether we are doing the job good or consistently. The blue circle is the self-evaluation about the board. So our board member think Fullness is doing very good in clarifying the mission. Okay, because we always argue in the board what is our priority, whether to serve the DV youth or to make more money. So because of all this conflict and discussion, everyone is very clarified about the mission is to help the first mission is to help the DV youth. So we think we are doing a good job in this area. So by looking the difference between the red and blue, you know the problems that we need to enhance or that we need to address. Okay, but we have a very good evaluation, by the way, in 2013. So let's just take another. No one thing, developing financial resources is important because over the past few years, we try very hard to build cash. So nowadays, no one think this one is important. But back to 2 years and 4 years ago, this thought should be here. And so the importance is low, but we are doing very well in 2013. Okay, but you can spot there is one here, right? People think that developing a CEO is important, but we did not do well because we are unable to recruit a full-time CEO right now. So maybe 2014, this is the area that we need to address. Okay, so this is the annual self-evaluation, so that everyone knows what is our common task that need to tackle. So we give the focus to all the board members. Okay, and the other question, also this survey actually is produced by McKinsey. You can type in Google search McKinsey board self-evaluation. Okay, then all the questions will come out. Okay, this is another presentation of the previous graph. Here is the importance. Here is the board performance. So we must make sure whenever the things that are important must have a high mark. Otherwise, you are not effective. So everything is important must have good performance. So if we are good at clarifying mission, resolving key issues, and assessing performance. This is not of so important issue, but we are still able to get some good marks. So this is the major task. It's very clear. In 2014, this is our major task because we think it's important to have a CEO, full-time CEO, but yet over the last 3 years we are unable to recruit one. Okay, so I'm the voluntary CEO at this moment right now. Okay, so this is the result over the last few years. So this is the average mark. 1 is the highest, 0 is the lowest, right? So this is the average score of our self-evaluation from 0.68 to 0.83. Okay, so you can see you just need to realize the circle is expanding, then it's good. Okay, because the circle expanding means you score higher mark Okay, or at least we think we are doing a good job. Okay, okay. So another set of questions that we'll ask our board member is we call it board enabler, which means are we doing conducting the board in an effective way? For example, providing minutes, agenda, our meeting is done on time, etc., etc. So here is do you think the board size is in correct size, or are we able to bring in new directors in, or do you think we have the right leaders sit on the different committees? So this is also a self-evaluation. So you can see from 2009 to 2013. So some of that we are doing better, but not all of that. Maybe this one. The meeting preparation is doing not so good over the years because we are busy in raising money. So we are not doing good the administrative job, but something we are doing good. We believe we learn how to put the right leaders to sit in different committees or to conduct different tasks. So you can see the marks are going up. So this is how we understand how the boards are doing. So this is a self-evaluating board. Okay, and this is the last point is about transparency. I didn't have a slide there, but for Fullness Hair Salon, we have the audit account and also the stakeholder report on the website, so that everyone can trace our account and stakeholder report for the past over 5 years. So if you are interested in numbers, you can download our audited report. Our stakeholder report also not just for the shareholder, but we suppose we think our church may be interested to look at our stakeholder report so that they know how Fullness Salon is doing, because we are a Christian organization. And also the shareholders and also our employee can know all the financial data about his and their company. Okay, I think transparency also not just a good term, but it also put pressure on the board, because you have to be transparent to your employee, your stakeholder, your church, and your community. Then you have pressure, so that you want to do better, and you don't want to be lazy and being finger pointed by someone else. Okay, so it put pressure on ourselves as well. So, but we like it. Okay, but we like it. We embrace it. We want to make Fullness is a reputable social enterprise in Hong Kong. So last but not the least is how to pick the right director or leaders into the board. Okay, so you need to leverage your connection to bring the right people into the board. After all, the people is the most important. You have all the structure, but you must have good people with good intention and ability and a channel for them to contribute. So here's a difficult graph, but I try to just pinpoint a few examples. For example, some of the board members, they are change agents, so they drive fundamental change and work in a transparent manner. But on the other hand, there is a similar type of person. They are not change agent, but controller. Controller and change agent also want to drive change, but it's different. They are dissatisfied member and always incapable to accept any position when it is first presented. So it's always rejecting right at the beginning of everything. But a change agent will also have different opinion, but they will work in a transparent way and try to make the organization better. So it's a similar personality, but one is positive, one is negative. So we need, as a chairman, we need to identify the right person into the board. So I will see another pair, challenger and critic. No need to explain, right? Challenger is good because it challenges you to do better, but critic is just critique. Okay, so it's different. Okay, and the other is more subtle one. Consensus. Counselor. Counselor is a director with good experience, but he or she is also like to raise up new leaders. So he's a good counselor. But cheerleader is everything is good, but do nothing. Okay, every decision is good, but do nothing. They will not contribute to raise up new leaders. So you need to have a right mix, and you need to be careful when you put people into the board. So of course, skills are important, but put it in skill used in a negative way can also destroy your management. Okay, skill must be used in a positive way, so and that's why we want our board to be a learning board. Otherwise, our self-inflated ego will be too large. Okay, and I think this is not true for my other board member, but for myself, it's a good reminder for myself. So I think I will share. That's all for the moment first. Maybe I pass the.
Thank you. I think Mr. Zhong is going to briefly present Dr. Alice Yung's PowerPoint. And that's on the 7 main principles of good corporate governance.
Okay, I think TAP have a very good article have many solutions to our governance challenge. This is a PowerPoint which is Alice York want to present to you. It is a very simple and beautiful good governance principle, I think. It is applied by YMCA member of the organization. That means YMCA board members need to know this 7 good governance principle. I think many of you are the expert in this area, so I just highlight which are the 7 principles. The first one is understand role. So they need to know the social mission. They know their obligation and responsibility, like to oversee and monitor the CEO, the management. Second is deliver organizational purpose, how to deliver the services with vision and purpose, and also have operational plan budget, review result, assess impact. The third one is work effectively as a board and as an individual director. That means they should know what the board members need to do. Like that, they have 4 categories of board members. They need to know their role and what kinds of tasks they need to perform. The fourth one is exercise effective control. You know, in social enterprise, many operators are come from the business sector. The gray area, when they operate the business, there are very wide gray area they use, but many times not very ethical. So the board need to have control. The management will perform the legal and will comply the legal and regulatory of the business. The fourth one is behavior with integrity to safeguard the reputation of organization. You know, in commercial sector, if the business no good, they just close down the business. But you know, many social enterprise, the mother organization is the NGO, is a social service organization. So if they cannot safeguard the reputation of the organization, will lead to the government stop the subvention to the NGO. The sixth one is be open and accountable. That is the accountability of the board and also the company. So they need to have open communication, consultation in changes of policies, and handling complaints constructively. You know, now in Hong Kong, it is a campaign city, full of campaign. Every time campaign, all people think they have right to do everything. So the board it's very important to help the company or the organization to deal with the complaints even the internal customer and also the outside customer. Position of organization, focus on policy decision making, cooperative relationship with other organizations, and make contribution. It is very important. The active of how the active of the board member, you will find the performance of the company or the organization will become better. And the last one, Ted also said how to recruit more members, or not maybe not more, but the good member to enter the board, to have some blood changing and to have to make the board effective and efficient. That is the Alice York want to present to you. Thank you.
I think I would like to open the section to the floor, and if you have any questions, please raise your hand, or maybe identify yourself, let us know your name.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. George, I would like to know from Ted, how long is normally your board meeting held? I mean, the duration of each meeting. I'm surprised by the extent of scope of the work that your directors have to do. Thank you.
You mean for each meeting, how
Yes.
long? So about 1 to 2 hours. Or we meet once every month. That's the frequency. We meet once every month, and sometimes at most we meet once every 2 months. Yeah, but every board meeting is only about 1 to 2 hours.
Are there any retreat camp or longer time meeting?
We have an interesting question asked whether we have balance between fun and work among our board members. We score very low in terms of funding. In terms of fund, which means last year, because we are work very hard to build our cash, so no more retreat, and we stopped it for the last 2 years. But maybe in 2014 we should improve it on this part. So people are becoming more happy when they serve in the boards.
It seems that the duration of meetings depends a lot, of course, on the agenda items. If you have a long agenda, obviously that will be longer. But it seems that if it is well prepared, then usually the meeting will be more efficient and will last a shorter time. Good preparation is sending agenda, discussion notes, previous minutes, well in advance, to members of the board. Then there will, of course, be speed up discussions.
Hi, I have really good presentations about the importance of boards for charities or social enterprises. I'm Calvin from an organization called Food Cycle, or Unlimited Hong Kong, depending on where I am. I'm still getting a little bit confused on that one. My question is, has there been a comparison with mainstream for-profit companies and the correlation? Is there, are they doing all this stuff as well? Because this is a lot of things to do, and this is very aspirational, and it's great that some of the, like Fullness is doing this. Is this something for for-profit companies as an example to look up to?
Well, Ted, do you want to answer the question?
Okay. I think the for-profit company, they also have this kind of meeting and structure, but they just do it more efficiently. That's what I think. Yeah. Because most of the board member of Fullness actually come from a business background. So what you see is we also have this regular meeting outside, in other corporates, but we try to do it efficiently as well, do it efficiently in the social enterprise as well. This is what we want to achieve. I think there's some best practice that we can bring from the commercial sector, but don't be overwhelmed that all the business practices are equally applicable in social enterprise. So I think we need some adjustment, but we can learn from the commercial sectors. Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's any comparative studies as such, but certainly there are a lot of studies now on effectiveness of the ESG, the environmental, social, and governance reporting. I think in Hong Kong, the stock exchange just introduced it, I think in last year, it's 1-2, and it is not compulsory. Basically, it is a recommended best practice. And I think there are studies showing that companies that are true to this ESG reporting, longer term, their performance is definitely better than those that are not presenting this environmental and social governance report. There's no doubt initial cost incurred, but very often longer term the benefits are.
Hi, my name is Terry Lang. I wanted to perhaps ask Mr. Chung in terms of the various case studies that you've shared with us. The various performance indicators that you have outlined, some clearly are, it's a mixture of, I guess, quantitative and qualitative measures. You've obviously measured the usual profitability, sustainability, and so forth, but there are other sort of qualitative measures, and I see factors like media coverage, for instance, in one particular case, and certainly other like number of jobs that you generated for the younger people. Can you share with maybe for your specific organizations what you feel would be the more important? What sort of improvement do you think you would make in terms of the performance indicators? What would be an effective measure that you would use?
The case B is not company. So the board already given us the indicator, the performance indicator at the very beginning. They want us to have about 60% of the employees, the people with mental disabilities. That is the first indicators and the very, very important indicators. The second is the sustainability of the business. They mean it is they are not treat social enterprise as a service or a project of the organization. It is another kind of method to help the people to reintegrate to the community. So the number of disabled persons is very important to them, but the company needs to be self-financing, self-independent. That is the second, maybe the first. The first and second is equally important because if the company, as a social enterprise, cannot sustain, then the first indicators cannot fulfill. If the company closed down, then we have about 150 employees now, and 100 of them are the people with mental disabilities. If my business cannot continue to run, then they will be unemployed. So the financial and the social return is we name it as a double bottom line we need to achieve. So this is the the main indicators of the performance. But we also have maybe the third one is the quality of life of the employees. You know, in Hong Kong, employment only we have the minimum wage about 30 Hong Kong dollars an hour. But it cannot say that the social enterprise only give them a job post. But we want our employee, especially the people of mental disabilities, they can have a better quality of life. So the third one we will give. I think it's our wages. Our wages is above average in the social enterprise, above average. Many of them can get about $35 per hour, and they also have a bonus scheme for the managerial staff and the middle level staff. They have their bonus package, and every year if we have profit or not, sometimes we do not really have the net profit, but we also share the bonus to the people without the bonus scheme. And also we have some welfare scheme to the employees, like 3日侍產假，3日侍產假。For the men, that they have 3 days paternity leave. Even these kind of HR policy, our mother organization do not have. So all these are the indicators to show we're not only a job providing social enterprise, but also we want to have other social objectives to fulfill.
Okay, I think we probably have time for this last question. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Annie from the Bars Group. I actually have two questions. One quick one is, would any of your PowerPoint materials be available? So I think you have some very interesting and useful information on there. Secondly, I wonder if I might kind of ask the panelists to kind of go back in time a little bit to when you first started these social enterprises, particularly the ones where you're affiliated with or subsidiary of an NGO, in terms of the process of communicating with the main board, the tensions that might have arisen, considering your need to actually run your enterprise as a self-sustaining one, which necessitates kind of importing some business thinking. Did it create any tension with the main board? How did you negotiate that with the main board? And in the course of this evolution of your enterprise, how do you manage that relationship?
I think the tension is really happening. 10 years ago, not many people, especially in NGO sector, will not think they need to do business. So as a social worker, I'm a social worker. I started social enterprises. I faced many challenges, even in the NGO, because it's not our, we name it 本業, the original service, and it is another type of. I think it's a servicing method. So I trained by the accountant, the accounting officer of the NGO, the HR manager officer of the NGO. Even our director said you need to pay more attention to your service, not to the business, because we need to, as the NGO, they need their accountability is to the social welfare department, the subvention body. So they were afraid that they have a cross subsidy in it because I'm the social worker, but you're doing something is self-financing and a business. So how about the profit? Where the profit go, and will you use the resources in the NGO? So that at that time they have challenged. But 2002, we started the limited company. So I hire a general manager of that company, and she will oversee the whole business, and I just as a supervisor. But last year I seconded from the NGO to the company as the managing director. Then I take over the supervision and also the operation of the company. Then the tension becomes less, and also the board of KSB, the board of KSB, they are appointed by the executive committee of the NGO, and all the appointed members also from that executive committee except me. So they become about 10 years operation. They become more sympathetic to the development of the social enterprise. They know that the business will not always win, sometimes lost. And they also have a very good intention to have interest-free loan to the company, and now we can pay back the loan to NGO. They will not afraid of the bad debt of the loan. So I think different stages of development will have different kinds of tension appeal.
Yeah, just add one. I think we actually Fullness Salon when start with is actually branch out from the NGO, the parent NGO. So we need to have sufficient number of change agents, as so in my last slide, in the NGO board. I think Fullness is lucky because the NGO board, we do not accept, we do not obtain government grants or loan at the very beginning. So even though we need to change, we need to make change, we can make change very fast. So in our case, it's more more smooth.
Okay, I think our staff has reminded me that time is running up. So I think before we close it, I just wish to summarize my own takings from these two great speakers. I think from the case studies shared by Mr. Zhong, I learned that to run a SE and to be successful, commercial skills is not perhaps the most important. It's the passion, from the very successful case A and B. And I think as far as the corporate structure is concerned, again, the more successful SEs have autonomy. Normally, if you have an independent boss, you have greater chance, to develop and run your business successfully. And then from the less successful cases, the difficult to scale up, no doubt. I have obtained from Mr. Zhong the numbers of employees, of these 6 cases. So it seems that scale is important. Those that summarize as difficult to scale up have very small sets of staff, in one case just 2, in one case 10. And then another one, although they have 19 employees, but no doubt they lack the skill sets. So, again, for the difficult to scale up, all of them, the 4 of them, do not have an independent board. So, I think this is something we can take away. And I think we must thank Ted for his very open sharing. There's no doubt a lot that we can learn as to how to pick right board to make the SE successful. Okay, so thank you very much, for your attendance, and thank you very much for your questions and your